Many friends keep asking me, do you know of a good media channel that I can believe in and get some facts? Interesting question and also a difficult question. It's high time to explore some sound answers to this question. Friends, my name is Srikanth and this is NRI Semi Community Radio from Los Angeles. In a world where Twitter becomes a micromedia platform and news hit every corner of the world in split seconds, the race for fastest news bite sometimes kills the core idea of what we call a fact. Even before some sane people try to bring out facts in the open, an issue is twisted, tweaked, judged inside TV studios, and finally put to death by the same pockets of media. Then social media walls of millions become an argument ring where a literal war between truth versus lies or even an opinion versus fact erupts in no time. No one wins as each side has their own set of data that they got from their own sources. In the process, a fact becomes a lie and a lie becomes a fact. Bottom line, it doesn't really matter if it is a truth or a lie or a fact versus a myth. The idea is to drive majority of citizens towards an opinion about a person, an issue or a cause. What kind of world are we building when only medium that connects people to causes and current affairs subtly plays around between truth versus a lie or a fact versus a myth? Few souls are with me right now on NRI Semi who wagged their brains and came up with an idea to address the problem. Innovation, use of technology and putting their personal lives at risk, they're trying to solidify facts. We do have Srinivas Reddy, an NRI who works for an IT company at Minneapolis and sustains the Factly initiative. Rakesh Reddy, a well-known RTI activist and the engine behind the Factly, substantiating facts with data from RTI and other sources. You've been on NRI Semi earlier along with Shailesh Gandhi on the topic of RTI and its importance. Shashi Kiran, an NRI who lives in Virginia, works as an IT consultant and works on the website maintenance and content management at Factly. Manoj Mandua is from Bangalore, is by profession a graphics designer, has his own Pathio design company and is a man behind the brilliant Factly infographics that you see. A great team that co-founded Factly. All of you, welcome to the program and thank you for the time, sir.
Thank you, Srikanth.
You should certainly look at the work done by these folks. You can visit their website factly.in or facebook.com/factly.in, dot as in DOTIN, or twitter.com/factly.in. Let me start with Manoj. Manoj, seems like Factly is more about bringing out a fact or about making a fact more meaningful or either both. What motivated you to start this initiative, Manoj?
When Rakesh approached me with this idea of representing the fact from the public data, he had a very vivid idea of sharing the information from RTI sources. So he approached me, and I have always tried to simplify the message and make it more meaningful to the people. So, to be frank, I was not immediately excited, but I took some time to, incubate that idea, and probably I delayed that a bit. So I took my time, and we started with IRCTC infographic, I believe. So that's how it started, and we got a really good response for the design, for the infographic, and the whole idea as such.
Rakesh, I want to bring you here in. What really is the fact for Factly team? How do you define it, Rakesh?
When I'll probably go back a little into history to,
sure.
So my own RTA work of the last decade. So day in, day out, I keep coming across some government data or deal with it, so look at it. So a lot of times, and when I kept sharing, as in a few facts on Facebook on my own wall, or, keep sharing it with friends, etc. A lot of people used to ask me, where did you get this data from, or, do you have any special access to this data? For which I was, in a way, I was dumbfounded, because, most of the data is publicly available on government websites. Some of it may not be, some of it you have to get through RTA, but so I was dumbfounded because, despite so much advancement in technology, so much access to internet, etc., people still don't have any idea of the kind of data that government maintains or the kind of data that it generates. So that was the first problem for me. The second problem was, a lot of people, even if, let's say, I give some, they get across some data, it becomes very difficult for them to comprehend. Partly because, of the way in how the government maintains data, and partly to do with probably subject matter expertise. So if they don't know the subject well, it becomes a little difficult for them to comprehend that data. So, this whole churning of Factly has been there for quite some time now. I would say in a couple of years now, but never really I put it into implementation or spoke to friends who can help me because of various reasons. So I was in the US on some fellowship program. So when I was in the US, I had a good time with Shashi discussing all this. So that's when I think the whole germination started. So I came back, sat with Manoj, and incidentally, Manoj, me and Shashi come from the same school in Warangal. So we all studied in the same school. So we're all childhood friends. So that's when I, discussed it with Manoj. So Manoj Manoj said, he was not very excited, but he said, let's try this. And after the first few infographics, he knew, the kind of impact these infographics can really make, as in, the whole representation. So I would say Factly team is all about, like our tagline says, we want to make public data more meaningful. That said, we don't want to restrict ourselves to, let's say, analysis of data, or we are not just a data journalism platform. So we wouldn't want to call ourselves like that. So what we also wish to do, and which we currently are doing in some ways, make complex laws very meaningful to the common citizen, make them understand things. For example, we have done a couple of stories on cinema theaters, what are the rules they have to follow. We have done today one on if somebody is buying an agricultural land, what are the things that you need to take care of. So some things like that where government procedures become very complex, and that's where the whole broker system comes into play, which makes it, so we want to work in multiple areas, of course, all to do with government and government data, government information, and the use of such information to the common public. So our ultimate goal in doing anything, whatever we do at Factly, at the end of the day, it has to be meaningful to the common citizen. I would say Factly is that.
Wonderful. Yeah, and Rakesh, you guys will eventually become a trump card for facts, and it's a huge responsibility, right? What sort of fears do you guys have when you're dealing with facts at Factly?
There are multiple fears. The first fear obviously is the source of data. A lot of times what happens is, and we see quite a bit of it in the current media, where the data can be twisted to kind of suit your agenda, right. And sometimes the source of the data could be questioned. So what we have decided for now is that we would not go beyond government sources. For good or bad, government data has some kind of sanctity. So government data might be wrong. We're not saying government data is all correct, but at least we are saying it is data generated by a government, and which means it has some kind of sanctity attached. So for starters, to kind of eliminate that fear about sources of data, we have internally decided that we'll stick with government data, and probably data from well-respected sources like international organizations like the UN or the World Bank, etc. Other than that, we wish not to foray into taking any private data as such. That is the first thing. The second thing is, as in today, probably we are a small team trying to collaborate, work together. So we have enough time to cross-check and see if there are any mistakes. In fact, even if there are a few mistakes here and there, we could correct them. So that is happening fine now. But eventually, when you grow, when you want to do a lot of things, when you do things in let's say multiple articles each day, multiple stories each day, my fear is that we should still continue to have that great scrutiny over facts. We should never get into twisting facts for a specific purpose. So at Factly, that we are very clear that if we do not want to, a lot of times, the data might be very clearly veering towards one opinion.
Right.
Something is bad or something is good. But the moment we do that, we are branded.
Yeah.
Either this way or that way. We wish not to do that. Sometimes, yes. Sometimes when the data is very, very, very apparent and visible, yes, we could say this is better than that. But in most other cases, we just want to throw facts and analyze them in a manner that can be easily understood, so that people can form their own opinions. Whether good, bad, we leave it to people.
An opinion always travels faster than a fact. And fact is about, closely coming to truth, right? And maybe it has no sensation element in it. Also, a fact is generally very late in the game as far as an issue is concerned. In the meantime, an opinion is about, a cautious construction of comfort. Nothing wrong. That's how it is. Yeah, I put myself into those shoes. It's really hard, but we're all dealing with humans here. It could, these opinions could even be a gossip or a lie, and hence has got that sort of a sensation element that we know that displays on the mind of people, right? How can you guys ensure that you stay course with the current day-to-day events and bring out facts?
When we started out, we had some very interesting sets of data with us already. When we started out, as in we thought, this kind of data would be interesting, this kind of data would be interesting. So we actually started with only infographics to speak, so to speak. So like Manoj was saying, we started with IRCTC because we had some data from IRCTC that we had got through RTI. And in fact, this whole discussion that you had about opinions makes me, remember one of the discussions I had with Manoj. So when we first did the first infographic about IRCTC, so it had simple numbers like, how many tickets does IRCTC, how many tickets are booked through that platform every year, how much revenue is generated, what is the bandwidth speed, etc. We had these stats which were just represented in a very nice infographic. When we saw that infographic, in fact, the way I responded, the way Manoj responded were completely opposite. I was thinking this infographic would send out probably a positive message, while Manoj thought it would send out a negative message. So, as a negative message in the sense, somebody might perceive it as, in spite of doing so much, why is our government not investing enough on bandwidth, etc. My whole point was probably with that limited thing, the IRCTC is doing so much. Right. So, which made us believe that yes, our agenda is just stay course with facts and then put that infographic out. Let people judge, come to their own understanding. And in fact, it's very important to note here the first infographic of IRCTC, which was shared by some well-known pages on Facebook. Right. We had multiple opinions like with small, and it was very amazing to see with one small infographic with few little facts could actually completely change the perception of individuals about anything. So there were people who wrote comments saying, sorry IRCTC, I misunderstood you all my life. Right. You're doing such a wonderful job. Right. So for us it was like, okay, so we didn't do anything great. We just took data that was either already available or, we got through RTI and just represented. So that told us, okay, we are not building opinion. Opinion building is obviously, people can build opinions based on their own way of understanding, their own prejudices. But I think our whole idea was why not, and especially after the 2014 elections, for me it was a tipping point because right. On social media, this was probably the first election which was also fought on social media. Yes. So, all parties, irrespective of hue and color, so all kinds of photoshopped images, all kinds of fake news, fake numbers. So for me it was a tipping point. And there were lakhs of people sharing the same message which was either half true or completely false. So right. For me, it gave an impression that, there is definitely a great need for such a platform, which can, sometimes it may not be the daily current news. Over time, what we have realized now, what we are doing consciously and to the extent possible is that stay course with current happenings. One example is, the whole Maggi issue. Right. Once it was found that there was excessive lead and MSG, we did some research, we got some data saying, it was not just Maggi, but 400 other different products which were rejected by the FSSAI. We wrote a story which was shared by 20 different websites, thousands of views, people expressing opinions. So we're trying to stay course with, the daily events to the extent possible. Otherwise, we try to, churn out data based on various sources and then come up with that.
And Rakesh, one of the questions is selective journalism is now a big discussion point, right? Pockets of media cover and pursue some issues aggressively and certainly calm down on others. True. There could be genuine reasons, lack of time, lack of manpower, and literally working for their bosses who have their motivation. That is one of the reasons. If you take about Arnab, right? Arnab has time for few stories to aggressively pursue, and few he might be missing just because he doesn't have time or he feels that no other journalist can take it as aggressively as he can. But there could be a million reasons, but people are angered when they see that, and they call this selective journalism. And also, most important, people are divided by caste, religion, region, ethnicity, all these, etc., you know, within the respect towards media, facts and opinions faded away over a period of time as well. Do you get comments from people saying that these are selective facts? Do you guys get into that conversation amongst yourselves in a team on how to address this?
We do. As in, you know, if you look at some of the comments on either our own website or on websites that shared or reshared our articles, there are definitely some opinions from some individuals which sometimes think we are pro-left, sometimes people think we are pro-right. So we are happy that, you know, people think we are at both places. But in terms of, you know, which is why we have been very careful. For example, I'll tell you a very recent example. You know, because there was so much discussion about Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister, traveling across, and he spent about 55 days in the first year abroad, 18 different countries. So the discussion was always, you know, he's more abroad than in India, etc., etc. So when we compiled, we wanted to look at data where, you know, is it only him, or is it too much media focus on him? Have his colleagues, you know, his ministerial colleagues traveled anywhere? So we got hold of the data, and we found that it was not just him, but about 40% of his colleagues who traveled abroad for various purposes. It could be bilateral visits, it could be multilateral visits, various conferences, etc. Now, there we didn't do anything. We just took the facts and said how many days did each individual travel, what is the purpose of that travel, how many of them went on private visits. We just converted the data into easily understandable graph and a table and just put it. Now, a few comments on that said, they said it is selective because they felt we should have also included what happened, what is the outcome of such a visit, which we clearly had no information, and neither the government. The government didn't have any information on outcome of each visit. So they felt, you know, for some it was like, in fact there also it was an interesting experience. Some of them felt we were trying to nitpick on the BJP government, saying, you know, a lot of people travel abroad, whereas the others, there was another kind of opinion which said, you know, you're trying to shield Modi, that, you know, he's not the only one, but a lot of ministerial colleagues are also traveling. So these multiple opinions, we do get opinions from people thinking, and unfortunately, you know, unfortunately or fortunately, because our country is still in that phase of development, and where most government funds are not directly utilized, and where their targets are not achieved. So most data journalism, or the data that we put out, is usually anti-establishment. When I say anti-establishment, for example, you know, the target is to build, let's say, 100 toilets in the next 2 years, but even 40 don't get built. So which is obviously anti the government of that day. But we are not saying the government of that day. We usually, which is why we do not take just the data of 1 year, which can be really skewed. So we try and take data of at least 3 to 4 years, you know, so that, you know, we can at least look at a trend. You know, is it really the trend, or is it you know, just happening in 1 year, or is it an aberration? So we try to overcome that. We do have a discussion where there are people who do make extreme comments that, you know, we are so, but most of the times people have appreciated that, you know, we have stayed away from stating our opinion. We just presented facts and let people come to their own opinion, come to their own understanding.
Absolutely. Bottom line, you know, humans are dealing with initiatives and causes, and as long as personal thoughts don't get mixed and matched with you know, the causes and initiatives, I don't think there is any discussion point here. And let me come to this infographics part. Phenomenal effort on that. I can imagine what goes behind that. Manoj, I want to bring you in here, sir. This is the sort of work that you do that goes viral, and the soul of Factly initiative lies in infographics, right? How difficult is the work that you do, and what are the challenges that putting humongous amount of information into a simple infographic? I know what it takes. Doing a simple flyer for NRI Sama is so tough. But tell us, sir, what does it take, and what challenges do you face when you're putting the infographics together?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a firm, with respect to design, I'm a firm believer that, you know, form follows function. So the infographic has to be functional at the end of the day. But see, in the social media, like, people have very short attention span. So it has to catch the eye of the viewer also. So, I mean, the majority part of the struggle goes in striking the right balance of, you know, showcasing the entire information and yet being catchy. So that's the biggest struggle I go through, and that's why it takes time also. It takes considerable amount of time to come up with any infographic on a particular issue. So luckily I have help from Srinivas and the other team members. So I need not worry much about the data as such. So I just concentrate on the data and try to organize it, see a pattern there, and trying to be more impactful with the output.
Wonderful. And Manoj, facts do not sell. And that's the unbelievable truth that we'll have to really think about.
Yeah.
Right. And if let's imagine there are a couple of people who listen to this interview and then they want to join in the infographics team. What sort of expertise are you looking for in terms of people who are showing interest?
If I have to say, it is like from the skill of identifying patterns in the data you have, like you'll be having 150 rows of Excel sheet, and so you need to find a pattern and you need to decide what to convey in that graphics, and and then comes the tool part where you need to maybe Illustrator or Photoshop and use those tools to convey this information in more graphical way. And yeah, mostly it's understanding the data and then handling the right tool for it. And
okay.
I'm learning to introduce more video infographics and animations, so it has to be more rich. So that's another thing will be an advantage.
And Manoj, majority of times you rely on government data and government websites, which in turn might not be a complete data set. Rakesh also mentioned about it, right? Based on the data, you tend to construct a fact. Do you feel that you're risking? Of course, Rakesh also mentioned it's a risk. Do you feel while doing it that sometimes when I'm connecting the dots and presenting it as an infographic, the fact might fall a little apart? Do you get such sort of thoughts as well while doing it?
Mostly when you're dealing with kind of accidental information, or information about accidents or deaths in any disaster, you always believe that government presents data which is far less in number. So at those times I feel whether it is true or not, but that's the only source we have which is 100% authentic. You can't rely on some skewed facts from other media. So yeah, you get such worries, but for the moment you need to stick to the data from government, and probably if Factly goes more into the reach of public, and then probably even government will try to project 100% true facts. So that's the hope.
Right, absolutely. I've spent a lot of time looking into Factly website. Shashi, I want to bring in here that conversation. I know you've been managing the website and the content on the website as well. And also I know that this is not your full-time work, correct me if I'm wrong. Along with the social media, this is public facing, right? So do you envision Factly becoming a mainstream print or internet or visual media in the near future, Shashi?
Yeah, I absolutely do. So when we started to create the website, Rakesh and I had this conversation when he was here. We wanted to put the initial news articles, or like whatever the information we are gathering, in very simple terms. So that's when we looked at different options, and we came to this particular theme we have right now, which we thought was simple and easy to navigate, and for people to look at all the articles and infographics and such. And so when we started, we were barely getting like 100 hits a day, and we used to get excited just looking at like 100 hits a day to 200 hits a day. Versus now, within I would say like 6 months of being in existence, we last week had over an average of 3,000 hits a day, and a few days we had around over 4,500 hits. So we are seeing a continuous trend of where people are visiting our website, and they are revisiting back again. So most of the visitors are like a continuous readers, and we have been having a good following on Facebook, where where we see some of the folks are revisiting the website or like on our Facebook page more often, and I think we are creating a very good a user base, and as we expand our website to have to be more than just a data portal, more than just a data journalism portal like most of the people think. We have idea of creating some data tools on the website. We want to get into some social campaigns and create some products which Manoj can probably explain better. So while we do all these things going forward, I see there is a lot of potential for us becoming a very mainstream portal.
Yeah. And Sashi, asking about this, Creative Commons licensing, right? What are the do's and don'ts?
Right from day one, we were very focused on open data and promoting open data, and also creating our data and making sure that our data will be pretty open, right? So when we started off, we were thinking of licensing options, and we thought for our efforts to reach more people, Creative Commons is a way to go, right? And most of the data we use to come up with the news stories, or like the data tools I was talking about going forward, is going to be publicly available data. Of course, we do a lot of we'll be doing a lot of work for data scraping and doing a lot of data analysis and putting it in a meaningful way. But the core data is open data, so we really can't say that that's our stuff, right? So we want it to be available for everybody to use it freely. And also when you have a licensing which is so free, people tend to appreciate your efforts more, and they also want to join your efforts. Like, they also want to help. So which is what we are getting. We get. I know we are before of us started it, but of course in the last 6 months a lot of people also helped us, and most of them helped us because the data was because it's a Creative Commons license. We can freely. A lot of people were able to share it freely without our permission. Like, of course, giving us a due credit. And some of the major news outlets or major social media websites did share it, and that's how we are where we are right now. Of course, it's a long way to go, but we are what we are because of the licensing.
Absolutely, long way to go, but every little bit counts as well. So, phenomenal effort. Srinivas, I want to bring you in here, sir. Sashi has been mentioning that there are some independent contributors who are helping in this initiative. Who are these people, and what are they driving on the faculty front, sir?
We do get a lot of emails where people directly look at the data on the Facebook as well as on the website, as well as we have good amount of follows on Twitter as well. So they'll email faculty team saying that, okay, I have this information, or I want to contribute to the story, or to faculty, and how do you guys publish my story, or this is the information. So yeah, so then when they send us the information, we validate, like, Rakesh or Shashi or Manoj or me, like, just we validate that how authentic is it, and what are the source of it, and how good the content is, or like can we represent that into an infographic if possible, and then say like whether to carry it or not on our website. That's how we decide. But there are like people from all walks of life. There are people directly from media houses, like Hindu approached us saying that, okay, so we want to collaborate on some data, this infographic, or some analysis on the college, engineering colleges sharing lecturers between and providing double funded and all that stuff. So we collaborated with them, and some other websites directly point to us saying that, okay, so this is factually analyzed this or factually reported this. So they share the data, right? So in the same factor, we have other like social activist kind of people, like Suresh Idga, I can say. He contributed, he has a lot of info. He works on a lot of, issues-based stories. So he provides some stories, and we carry it as he's the author, and Bhanupriya Rao from US and Shashi Priya from India. So there are different people who contribute to the stories.
Srinivas, many social causes fail due to these reasons: money, being run by part-timers, and having dedicated volunteers who can deliver on time, and identifying volunteers who understand the mission, and the core team having the knack to atomically split the tasks. So what sort of conversations do you guys have when you think about money, contributing time, and identifying these volunteers? I've never seen a donate button on your website, so I'm asking these questions.
Coming to the funding part, right now we don't have any funding model as of now. But we don't say that we are totally NGO and a non-profit organization kind of. So we are putting a lot of efforts, and we are we need the tools and software and web hosting and all that stuff. So for now we are managing ourselves, so not being problematic so much. So when people approach us saying they have a story or something like that, and or when we reach out to people or identify anybody who is interested, volunteerism is something which they come out with a passion, right? So which you are doing, I am doing, or like Suresh are doing, or Rakesh is doing. So if a person, if you identify a person who's into this, and if you see the potential that he'll continue providing the stories, or generating the content, or creating the infographics, definitely we are open space for them. And it is challenging, definitely. We have invited a couple of guys, and they came in, and they started working on it, but they couldn't catch up with the time or deadline, and then let it go. And then we took up the story and we completed it. There were some situations like that as well. And it's passion first thing when it comes to the some social kind of work or some volunteerism without any pay, and they too have their own life as well. So right. We when we and again we use the social media kind of thing, WhatsApp is there, or our Gmail is there. So we do monthly hangouts, we all four of us, and discuss what we are doing currently, and what's good, what's bad about it, and how can we improvise. And we do a lot of retrospection, and then based on that we come up with the new strategies, and we discuss on the products to build. So these are the most conversations run around, instead of worrying about how can we fund this, or how can we market this, or something like that. Yes, we do. I'm not saying that we are not marketing it, but yes, we have a social media page, like a Facebook, and we have a lot of information. We tweet every story on the Twitter, besides maintaining our website, but it's not a paid marketing, or we are growing organically. Our user base is growing organically. As Shashi said, initially we had a pure viewership, and now the graph goes high and high. Again, it all depends on the open license, and the content is free to transform, free to distribute, and they can embed into their websites. They can share on their websites or blogs and directly on, so that's one of the good thing with being open source and being CC2 licensing.
Right. I understand.
I can probably want to come in 3
Please go ahead.
If you have a minute. So, as in to kind of add to what Srinivas was saying, to be very honest with you, very frank, people probably won't believe it. We have about close to about 13,600 likes on Facebook and close to around 150,000 views hits on the website so far in the 4 or 5 months of our journey. And apart from investing a couple of $100 in buying a WordPress theme and hosting, we haven't invested a single rupee. It's all organic. We have not sponsored anything. So, it's through our sharing, and open licensing has contributed a lot, like Shashi was saying. People were very happy to freely share it. As on today, there are about 5-6 different websites who share each of our stories. Every story is shared. They believe in the value of the content. That said, like you rightly said, sustaining social causes like these, with volunteerism, with pure passion is definitely difficult. So which is why from the beginning we were very clear that we didn't want to run it like non-profit. We want to make it sustainable. How do we make it is a question that we haven't thought of so far. We just wanted to give it a year to build the brand and, work on the idea and see the whole viability, acceptance part, and then think of, how to make it sustainable. So we definitely don't want to run it like a non-profit where, it just purely runs on passion, etc., etc. And we believe in the idea, the potential of the idea. So, how do we, what are the revenue models, etc.? We haven't thought about it. Frankly speaking, today, none of us have any idea of how can it be done. But we do have some vague, when we look at things, etc. But nothing is concrete as on today. So right now, our focus for, let's say, the next 6 months till the end of this year is also building the brand, coming up with a few tools, like Shashi was saying, a couple of products with data. When I say products, things that could be really useful, something that Manoj is working on. So right now our focus is more on that, by the end of the year, if you could do that, and then probably, relook at it in the new year, see how we can take it forward, etc. With respect to volunteering, yes, a lot of people come forward. On an average, we get 1 email every day, people saying, I want to contribute, this is a wonderful effort. But one of the flip side of all this is like very rightly you said, that, it's all that rush of energy the moment you see something. So yes. Sometimes it could be inability to comprehend and understand data because they haven't had any experience in dealing with that subject. Sometimes it could just be, sheer passion but nothing else. So we do come across some volunteers who are really helpful. Some of them drop the ball in between because it's our volunteering. Some of them do help us keep writing stories. But like I said, at the end of the day, it's volunteering. So you can't demand and say, you need to stick to a timeline, etc. But for now, yes, through NRISMI platform, it's an open invitation to anybody from the 4 of us that, if you're somebody who has interest in public data, making it meaningful, who has capability in designing, they can help Manoj, capability in making tools, scraping, etc., they can help Shashi, capability in sending across a message, etc., they can work with me or Srinivas, as in any help is welcome and okay, because there is so much to do. Sometimes when you look at the data on public websites, it's all mind-boggling, can we actually do anything with the data? There's so much, tons and tons of data that sometimes we get overwhelmed to see, which data to work on, which data not to work on.
So the biggest donation at this point anyone can do is share the stories, share the facts, and most important thing is the facts should travel faster than anything else that we can look at, even though the story has died down, but it's still fact as a fact, and then sharing that information will be very useful. And faculty team also invites contributions in the form of data, stories, and infographics at this point in time. So fascinating effort. Srinivas, Shashi, Manoj, and Rakesh, thank you so much for your time today, sir, and I certainly hope this interview would inspire more people to really think on how they can solidify the ideas of facts in place of opinions and myths. So thanks once again, all of you, sir.
Thank you, Srikanth. No, thank you so much. And people can follow factly.in, So, that's the biggest donation that anybody can give us. Please follow us. Please do share your suggestions and do tell us what we can do better, and we'll try and, see what all we can do.
There you go, friends. That is factly.in. Simple, very easy to remember, factly.in. You can also follow them on Facebook. I'm sure you've seen them on Logical Indians multiple times. You can follow them on Facebook, facebook.com/Factly, and also Twitter. They have the Factly Twitter handle as well. You can retweet and then share all the facts that the Factly team shares. They also have all of these different entities like News Laundry and other sites where the content is being shared. You can become one of them, retweet, or each one of us can shoulder the responsibility by sharing facts. So friends, that was once again Factly team for you, and in an era where editorials have been quietly operating as advertorials, which mean an editorial is more like an advertisement. Worse, sensation becomes the die motive of majority of these media pockets. Not all though, no complaints, but people certainly are being mentally spammed with million media outlets driving opinions and spreading opinions as facts. Factly is certainly a cool breeze that has got the real potential to change the course of the day-to-day discussions, debates and conversations. Hope you all have enjoyed this show. Do check into NRI Samay every weekend, Saturday and Sunday, 9:30 p.m. India time, 9 a.m. Pacific US time, and 12 p.m. Eastern time. You can follow our posts on facebook.com/NRI Samay, twitter.com/NRI Samay. You can listen to all our archives, youtube.com/NRI Samay. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, friends. See you again next week. Thank you. Bye.